Okay, so what's interesting is that this challenge doesn't just jump right into like productivity hacks and to-do lists and all that.
Right.
It actually starts with self-forgiveness.
Yeah. I think it's an interesting place to start.
Yeah, instead of that like, oh, I should have started yesterday, panic.
Yeah.
It's like we're going for a very different vibe.
Totally. It's like giving yourself permission to like not be perfect right from the start.
Yeah.
And actually there's this quote from one of the articles that really stood out to me.
Okay.
It says, "There's nothing you can do about the past except learn from it."
Hmm.
And I think that's so powerful because so often we get stuck in that cycle of beating ourselves up over past procrastination.
Oh, yeah, like carrying a backpack full of rocks.
Totally. And it's like you said, it's that shoulda, woulda, coulda thinking.
Exactly. And it's not like that guilt ever actually motivates us to do anything.
Exactly. If anything, it just keeps us stuck.
Totally.
Huh.
I've definitely been there, like, frozen by guilt instead of taking action.
Yeah, it's like that fear of failure becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Okay, so I'm already feeling lighter just hearing this idea of self-compassion. Like, it's okay to mess up. We're human.
Exactly. And that's the thing. This isn't about letting ourselves off the hook.
Right. And
It's about recognizing that beating ourselves up doesn't
Right.
help. It actually holds us back.
so true.
It's like this challenge frames self-compassion as the foundation for growth, not just another thing to stress about.
Okay, so slate's wiped clean. No more procrastination baggage.
Right.
What's next? What's the first step in this 7-day plan?
Well, once we've kind of made peace with the past, then it's all about setting those crystal clear goals.
Okay.
And one of the articles puts it really simply. It says, it all starts with a goal. You have to know what it is you want to accomplish.
Okay, but isn't that sometimes part of the problem?
What do you mean?
Like that feeling of being overwhelmed by all the things or not even knowing where to begin?
Oh, totally. And that's actually why I think this challenge is so helpful, because it breaks it down into these manageable steps.
Okay, how
So instead of just saying set a goal, which can feel really daunting,
Mhm.
it actually gives us a 3-step process.
Okay, I like it.
So first define the goal. Like, what is it that you actually want to achieve?
Right, get specific.
Exactly.
Yeah?
Then write it down. Don't just keep it in your head. Like, actually put pen to paper.
Yeah, make it real.
And then the third step is where the magic happens. It's get started.
Easier said than done, right?
Well, that's the thing. Even a small step counts.
Okay.
Like they use the example of filing taxes in the material.
Okay.
Most people put it off even though there's a deadline because it feels overwhelming.
Oh, yeah, so true.
But if you break it down into smaller steps, like just gathering your documents or researching deductions,
Okay.
it becomes much less daunting.
So true. All right, listener, I have a challenge for you right now.
Oh, I like it.
Think of one goal, one thing you want to accomplish, and write it down.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be perfect. Just get it out of your head and onto paper.
Love it. That act alone makes it so much more real,
Right.
and you've got a visual reminder to keep you on track.
Okay, so we've tackled the guilt. We've set our sights on a goal.
Right.
Now, how do we actually get motivated to do the thing? I feel like that's where I get stuck.
Me too.
Hmm.
But luckily, this 7-day challenge has some hacks for that.
Okay, bring on the motivation.
So one that really stood out to me is actually a classic.
Okay.
It's the just start hack.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that one.
Sometimes the simplest answer is the best, right?
I mean, haven't we all felt that, like, overwhelming feeling just melt away once we actually start a task?
Totally. It's like that initial inertia is the hardest part to overcome.
Yeah, it's like that first push to get a heavy object moving.
Exactly. Once it's going, the momentum takes over.
So less thinking, more doing.
Ex-
I can get behind that. All right, what other motivational magic does this challenge have up its sleeves?
Well, how about the bribe yourself hack?
Oh, I'm all about that one. Like a little reward to look forward to. Yes, please.
Exactly. Whether it's a fancy coffee after a productive morning or a weekend getaway once you finish that big project.
Or like even just like 5 minutes of guilt-free scrolling through social media.
Whatever works. But it's not just about the treat itself.
Oh, there's more to it.
Right. The articles talk about different types of rewards. Like some people are motivated by tangible things, while others are more driven by experiences.
Oh, that's interesting. So it's like tailoring the reward to your own personal motivation style.
Exactly. Figuring out what truly excites you
Yeah.
makes that reward that much more effective.
Okay, now that's an insight I haven't heard before. I like it. What else?
Okay, last one for this section. It's all about finding an accountability partner.
Oh, I love this one. Having someone to cheer you on and also, keep you honest can make a world of difference.
Totally. It's like harnessing social pressure for good.
And it's way more fun to celebrate successes together.
Exactly. It's like having a workout buddy for your productivity.
I love that analogy. Okay, so We've talked about forgiving ourselves, setting clear goals, and now finding that extra motivation.
Right.
But what about distractions?
Ah, yes, the nemesis of productivity.
Exactly. How does this challenge recommend we deal with those? Yeah, I love that idea of an accountability buddy, someone who gets it, someone who's also trying to level up their productivity game.
Right, it's like having a cheerleader and a coach all rolled into one.
Exactly. But okay, even with the best support system, even when we're feeling super motivated, distractions are everywhere these days.
Now tell me about it.
So how does this 7-day challenge recommend we handle those productivity kryptonite?
Well, I think the key takeaway here is that it's not about being immune to distractions.
Right.
Because let's be real, that's practically impossible in this day and age.
Pretty much.
It's more about outsmarting them.
Okay, I like the sound of that, outsmarting those pesky distractions. So how do we do it?
One tip that really resonated with me
Yeah.
was about tackling those important but not urgent tasks.
Oh, those are the worst.
Well-
Those things that, you should be doing, but there's no immediate deadline, so they just kind of
Yes.
linger in the back of your mind.
Exactly, and they create this low-level anxiety, but because they're not urgent, they're easy to push aside.
Yes, 100 times,
Ye-
yes.
So the challenge suggests creating a 3-item to-do list the night before and focusing on those very tasks.
Okay.
And here's the key. You tackle them first thing in the morning,
Oh, interesting.
before you even open your email, before you check social media, before anything else can hijack your focus.
It's like that saying, eat the frog first.
Exactly. Get that big thing or those annoying little things out of the way, and the rest of the day feels so much lighter.
I love that analogy. Okay, so it's about being proactive about our day instead of letting distractions dictate our priorities.
Precisely.
Love it. Okay, so we've talked about goals motivation and now this idea of outsmarting distractions. What else can we do to really solidify these new habits and make them stick?
Well, this next one is really key. It's all about accountability.
Okay, makes sense. I mean, we've all had those moments where just the thought of someone checking in on our progress is enough to keep us going, right?
Exactly. And this challenge dives into some really practical accountability strategies.
Like what?
One that I personally find really helpful is visual tracking.
Oh, yeah, I'm a very visual person.
Me too. And it can be as simple as using a habit tracker, like one of those calendars where you mark off each day you successfully complete a task.
Oh, yeah, I love those. Something so satisfying about seeing those check marks add up.
Right. Or you can create a milestone chart for bigger projects and visually track your progress.
I love that. It's like giving yourself a visual high five every step of the way.
Exactly. Another powerful strategy is simply telling someone about your plans.
Oh, yeah, the good old power of public commitment.
It's like you're more likely to follow through when you know someone else is aware of your goals. And then, of course, there's the accountability buddy system, which we talked about earlier.
Right, like having a workout buddy for your productivity.
Exactly. You can check in with each other, share progress, offer encouragement,
Yeah.
and celebrate those wins together.
Okay, so we've covered external accountability, but what about the conversations we have with ourselves?
Ah, yes, the inner critic.
Right, because sometimes that voice can be our own worst enemy.
Oh, 100%. It's
Oh,
like
yeah.
this constant chatter that can either cheer us on or completely sabotage our efforts.
It's the worst. So what do we do about it?
Well, the articles point out that there are 2 main types of internal dialogue that can really fuel procrastination.
Okay, interesting. Tell me more.
So first, there's the negative voice. This is the voice of self-doubt and criticism.
Yeah, I know that one all too well. It's like it's constantly telling you you're not good enough or that you're going to fail anyway, so why even bother?
Exactly. And the more you listen to it, the more you believe it, which just makes you want to procrastinate even more.
Ugh, it's a vicious cycle. So how do we silence that negative voice?
The key is to first become aware of it, really pay attention to those thoughts and patterns of self-criticism.
Okay,
And then once you're aware of it, you can start to diffuse its power.
I like that. Diffuse the negativity.
Hmm.
So how do we do that?
Well, there are a few different approaches. You can try challenging those negative thoughts with evidence to the contrary,
Okay.
or you can replace them with more positive affirmations.
Right.
And sometimes simply acknowledging the voice and then choosing to focus on something else can be enough to quiet it down.
Okay, that makes sense. Thanks for sharing negative voice, but I'm not listening to you right now.
Exactly. Now, the second type of internal dialogue is what I call the procrastination encouraging voice.
Oh, what's that one?
This one is sneaky because it often disguises procrastination as something more appealing.
Oh, I know this one. It's like, you've worked so hard, you deserve a break. Or let's just watch one more episode, then we'll get started.
Yes, the master of later and the king of just one more.
Ugh. And it always has the best arguments, like appealing to our desire to relax or avoid hard things.
Exactly. So it can be tricky to navigate.
So how do we outsmart this master manipulator?
Yeah.
How do we know when we're genuinely taking care of ourselves versus just procrastinating?
That's where the yes and technique comes in.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Okay, so instead of like a flat out no
Yeah.
to that little voice that's tempting us to procrastinate,
Right.
it's more like, okay, I hear you, Indy. Let's find a way to make this work for me and my goals too.
Exactly. It's about finding that balance, right?
Right.
Like, let's say that voice is telling you just one more episode of that show you're binging.
Oh, there's the most dangerous voice.
Right. So instead of just giving in or engaging in this like internal battle,
Yeah.
you could say something like, yes, that does sound really relaxing, and I bet I'll enjoy it even more once I get these reports off my plate.
Ooh, I like that.
Mhm.
So it's like you're acknowledging that desire. You're not just like shoving it down,
Right.
but you're also like redirecting it in a way that aligns with your goals. Exactly. And it helps you avoid that guilt trip later.
Yes. Okay, this is already making me feel like I can outsmart my procrastination tendencies.
I hope so. And speaking of which, this leads us to the final stretch of this 7-day challenge,
Okay.
which is all about this really powerful mantra.
Oh, I'll tell.
Make progress every single day.
Ooh, I like that. So it's not about like this big, daunting end goal all the time.
Right.
It's about those smaller daily wins.
Exactly. And the challenge gives us 3 really practical strategies to support this daily progress mindset.
Okay, love it.
So first up is plan for it, which we've kind of touched on already.
Right, like having that visual reminder what we're actually trying to accomplish.
Exactly. Because if it's not scheduled, if it's not in front of you, it's way too easy to just kind of push it aside.
Yeah, out of sight, out of mind for sure.
Okay. The second strategy is don't break the chain, which I think is so clever.
What is that one?
So it's all about like tapping into the power of streaks.
I'm a sucker for a good streak.
Me too. There's just something so motivating about like visually seeing your progress like on a calendar or a habit tracker.
Or even like a chain of paper clips, which is what I used to do when I was a kid.
I love that. Whatever works out. And then the third strategy for this make progress every single day idea is to check in with yourself.
Okay, so important.
Because it's so easy to just power through our days and forget to actually acknowledge how far we've come.
Right, like we're so focused on what's next on the to-do list.
Exactly. So taking those moments to celebrate the small wins along the way is huge.
I love that. This feels like a much more sustainable approach to productivity than I'm used to.
I think so too. It's not about being perfect. It's about progress.
Totally.
Yeah.
Okay, before we wrap up, do you have any final thoughts for our listeners?
I do. Actually, I have one final question for you to ponder.
I'm ready.
What if instead of treating procrastination as this like enemy that we're constantly battling,
Yeah.
what if we treated it like a muscle that we're training?
Okay, now that is an interesting perspective. Tell me more.
So think about it. Every time we choose action over inaction, every time we resist those distractions, every time we quiet that negative self-talk,
Yeah.
we're essentially doing reps. We're strengthening our anti-procrastination muscles.
Wow, I love that analogy. It makes it feel so much less daunting.
Right. It's like it's not about perfection. It's about progress.
Exactly.
So the next time you feel tempted to procrastinate, just remember you're not just avoiding a task. You're in training.
I love it. This has been such an insightful deep dive full of really practical tips, and I think a great reminder that overcoming procrastination is a journey.
It really is.
And like any worthwhile journey, it's about those consistent steps forward until those small wins add up to remarkable results.
Absolutely. You've got this.
Thanks for joining me on this deep dive. It's been a pleasure as always.
Thanks for having me.